Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to walk you through everything I did to get head-up display installed on this 2013 BMW F25 series. From tearing out the dash to getting the head-up display unit installed, to coding, to parts list, and everything else I did to get this retrofit complete. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is just grab two picks that have like a L shape on them here, a 90-degree angle. I'm going to go over two slots here on the vent. I'm just going to push those in and then pull down. Just put my thumbs there like that. Let go, and then that's out. So now the instrument cluster is loose, so we're going to move the steering wheel down and all the way out as far as we can go. Let's lock that back into position. And the instrument cluster is just going to flip down like so, and then we're gonna start to pull this thing out. It's got a lot of hooks on the back, so just be aware of that. I like to usually get it sideways here, and then we're just going to push up a little bit on that, and we're out. Okay. It's got two clips for the wire harness on the back, so go ahead and disconnect those, and disconnect the main lines. Now that's out. Easier to take it out going through the side here, and now we're out. Now the main thing with the instrument cluster is we have to see if the instrument cluster has the head-up display adapter on the back or not. So this instrument cluster here, I'm going to do is flip it over, and I don't really care what like sites like Real OEM say the instrument cluster should be in your car. You always want to pull it out and match. My instrument cluster may have been replaced at some point because this isn't a number that comes up. But what I'm really looking for is a beige adapter over here, and as you can see, it's missing. So now that means my instrument cluster does not support head-up display. So I'd have to get an instrument cluster that either supports head-up display or find the little chip on the back here. Instrument cluster, now this one does have head-up display, and as you can see, it has that little beige HSD cable adapter here. And so this is the main component from the instrument cluster that I need to be able to do head-up display. A couple of things to note about the instrument cluster. If I purchase an instrument cluster on eBay, there are two pieces of information that are stored in the cluster that make it vehicle specific. Number one is the VIN, and number two is the mileage. These are both stored in an EEPROM chip, usually on the front side of the instrument cluster. In order to recode that information, you need some special hardware and software to also to change that information. You may also have to take the chip off of the board, and that's a lot of work. Another thing just to note of caution, a lot of the instrument clusters being sold on eBay are from totaled out cars. So they could have been wrecked, and that means there could have been some damage that you might not see on the surface to the instrument cluster. Now, I'm not going to mess around with any of that stuff. There is a way around that. I'm just going to swap the circuit board that provides the video for the head-up display unit from the head-up display instrument cluster I've bought on eBay with my original one. Since those two pieces of information that are vehicle specific are not stored on that video card, it's easy just to swap that board out. So here in this photo, I am taking the back cover of the instrument cluster off, a couple of screws out, and just popping the tabs open, enough to get the instrument cluster panel off. And this chip is going to be directly staring at you, and all you need to do is press in a couple of tabs here around the unit, around the card, and I'm going to pull that straight off. And then I'm just going to swap that with my original instrument cluster's one. If you'll notice on the original instrument cluster, there is no beige connector. I'm going to plug that in. I'm going to put the back cover back on, put the screws back on it, and now we're set. Our instrument cluster will now support head-up display. The only thing we'll have to do is code the instrument cluster using eSys to ensure that it can put video signal out to the head-up display unit. So now we're going to take the glove box out because we need to run the power line and the ground line for the head-up display unit over to the junction box that's behind the glove box here. There are 3 screws that hold the bottom kick plate in, and then we've got a couple screws that are on the inside of the glove box, as well as 2 screws underneath the glove box that hold it in. Once you get those screws out, you're just going to pull that straight out. Now be careful. There is a wire that's connected to the glove box light, and on that same line is also the wire for the airbag, and it's not very long, so just be careful making sure to disconnect that before you give it a good yank out of there. Okay, so to take out the center console components here, we're going to start by removing the AC vent. I'm just going to get my fingers back here and give it a good old tug. There we go. And then we're going to pop that right over here. Got to be just a little careful on the left-hand side here where the button is. It's got a nice pop in there. Okay, so we just got 3 clips on the side here that we need to get off our start-stop switch. We're just going to squeeze that one in. Okay. We've got our little register vent here. I'm just going to take my clip and get that one because makes it easier. Same with down here. And that's going to come out. I'll toss that in the back. Now all of the screws here, again, they are T15. If I'm not mistaken. Yep. Let's see here. So I'm just going to take all these guys out. Got 4 screws that hold that in. These are like the shortest of the silver screws in case you get those lost there. And then, we're just going to come up here and grab our pry tool. Come in here. I'm just going to pop up and then down. This side here, oops. Okay. And then we just got a little map light that we'll have to just push up with your finger. That bottom cover is gone. Take our T15 here. We've got 2 screws down here. Pop those out. Get another one over here. Okay, and then this has got 2 clips on the back here. These are little quick push disconnectors, so you just push them in. Move the little arm out of the way. And now that's out. Now we've got the, this BMW has CIC in it, so we're just going to take the 4 screws that hold the head unit in. Go ahead and disconnect the head unit from the back. I've also got 2 screws up top here holding the nav screen in. So we're just going to go ahead and take those 2 black screws out. I'm just going to be careful because I don't want to lose them down in the subframe somewhere. Not that I've ever accidentally done that, right? Okay, so we got our screws out. We'll take this out. So let's go ahead and get the nav unit out. So I'm just going to tuck these back up in here. I'm just going to pull up and straight out. And then I'm going to twist and we're going to come sideways. Alright, so in order to get these out, now we've got to push these little white connectors out, and then I usually just push in while pulling on the white connector out. Okay. Okay. So these are the various cables for components, and then again, we're going to get the main harness down here, we're just going to flip that up, pop that out, and then same with these here. Now these have a little clip tab you got to push in. I don't like them because they're at an angle, and so you got to pull it straight out, but you don't really have a whole lot to grab onto. Come on, baby. There we go. You can get this last one out of here. There we go. Okay, and that's it. Now our head unit's out. Get that out the way. So now, while we're on this subject here, what I've done is we're going to take the blue wire for my harness, and what I'm looking to do is tap into the K-can lines that are here. So you'll notice a green wire with, I think it's solid green, and an orange with a green tracer on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our two taps, and we're going to tap into this double twisted line here. I like doing it in a spot where you can easily get to it. I think this is a really great spot. Kind of difficult to get to it anywhere else in the car. I just prefer here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap into the two K-can lines for the head-up display here, and that'll allow it to communicate with the bus controller and everything else. Okay, so we'll come back and we'll do that, and then let's go ahead and get the nav unit, or the digital screen out. So we already took those two screws out. This just lifts up underneath, and then we've just got two plugs behind here as well. Now you notice there's that green and orange K-can line again here, so another place you could tap into, but again this one's a little bit more difficult to get to. So we're just going to pop this off. Here, let's do one side at a time. Okay. All right, there's that. And then we have, again, another one of those little style clips. This one here is a little easier to get to. All right, and then our screen is out. I went ahead and ran my makeshift wiring harness here. So I've got one power line and one ground line. And if we kind of zoom in here just a little bit, let me get you a better camera here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now this is the front electronics module. This is where I'm going to take my ground wire and come up into here, into this harness here. And this just unclips, and you just find the correct pin in there based on the diagram. And then I'm going to run my power line. Again, nobody seems to have the right wiring harness, or seems to be able to get it since COVID-19 hit. It's been delayed by 4 months, and I'm just going to assume nobody's going to get this thing for me. So I went ahead and made a makeshift one. Again, I'm going to plug into the F25 fuse here, which is the third from the top. So we've got a 5, 10, and another 5. I'm using this little quick jumper just to extend the fuse out to here, so I don't have to go through the little wiring harness over here, because I can't seem to find a pin for that one. And then basically we just run this wire right behind the head unit, and then up into the dash over here. And we've got this out of the dash now, and then we can go ahead and plug it into our head-up display module just to make sure we can test that out to make sure it's working as well. Okay, let's go ahead and program the car. We're going to open up eSys here. And what we've got to do is we've got to actually program the FA, or vehicle order list, for the car. We need to tell the car that, hey, you now have head-up display, so make sure you give us all the options on the head unit and also within the instrument cluster to support head-up display. We also need to code the head-up display unit itself to our car so that it's got the right information for communicating and doing all the things that it needs to do here. Okay, so now once we're in eSys, we're going to go ahead and connect to the vehicle. And again, I've got an F25 here, so let's get that found. Here we are. It's already located the car, so we're going to go ahead and click connect. Okay, and we're connected. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go up to here to our coding option, and we're going to get the vehicle order, so we're going to read this. Now this has all of the vehicle information for what options the car has. I'm going to go to my desktop. We're going to save this as FA new with HUD. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to click on edit. Okay. So what we need to do here is we're going to expand this folder down here in the type. In this very last folder. So now what we want to do is the option for head-up display is 610 on this car. So I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to type in 610, comma, just like I see, and I'm going to save this back. Okay. And then apply the changes down here. Now we're going to save it back. And that is going to change that file we just saved on my desktop. So now we need to go back to expert mode and we're going to go to VCM. And what we're going to do here is, first one here. So under vehicle order, we're going to go ahead and open the file we just created on our desktop. Again, this now has the 610 option saved to it. And we're going to come down here and we're going to click calculate FP. And this is going to calculate what changes need to be made to the code for the car so that it can have all the proper items. So we've got this information here. We're going to come over to the master tab. We're going to read a couple things here first. So we're going to go ahead and click read on the I-step. And I'm going to take note of this I-step information here. So again, this is the version of software that the car was shipped with, and this is the current version that it has here. 502 is the ending, 1507502. And we'll need this information for when we go to code the head-up display unit, because it's going to want to know, hey, what version do you want to code the head-up display for? Okay, and then what we're going to do here is we're just going to go ahead and click on write FAFP. So now it's going to save this FA file that we just modified back to the car. Okay, down here in the corner it says FA and FP were written, so we're good there. Now we're going to come back to our coding option here. Yes, I would like to reload because I pulled the original version here. And I'm just going to go ahead and click, I'm going to go ahead and click read. And now I know it's pulling the most current version. So if we can double check that by just expanding this here. And in this list, we should see 610, which here it is. Okay, so now we know that. So now you're just going to code it like you do any other vehicle. We're just going to activate the FA. We're going to go ahead and read the ECU directly from the car. And now we've got our list of options. So we need to code 3 things for the head-up display. We're going to have to find our combi. Here. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that right here, and I'm just going to do code. And when I do this, it's going to basically put the default code for the instrument cluster back into the car. You may have had some customizations done to your car. It's going to wipe those out and put this as default, but it's easier to troubleshoot if we have to go that route. The other thing I'm going to code is my CIC head unit.
Got the chrome, hit the zone, hit you on my time, I fist the road. Had a known speed to the top, no drop. What you gonna do won't stop. I can't take it anymore.
Now we've got our head unit up here. You may have good to go. It may not be. If you don't see that green check mark here, we're going to go ahead and click on detect cap.
I can't take it anymore. Just like that, I'm right here like a tail light flash. Gracious like a wheel in that. Kiss when I win and my wheels are that. Push to extreme, I don't fall back. Offensive with the counter attack. You made like that, I was made like this. Don't miss, ready to win, ready to risk. Battle of the mind, let the games begin. All the people jump in.
So what I want to do before I go any further with cutting a hole in the dash is actually check and make sure that the head is split. So I've got the line HSD to here, and we've got that plugged in down here along with our wire harness. Again, I had to make the wire harness myself because I can't seem to force it.
I can't take it anymore.
So I've got all those things plugged in. You can see the mirror.
I can't take it anymore.
Operating plan system of mirrors, and this mirror here will sleep state when the car is off. That's so it doesn't sunlight out. It doesn't reflect we see the mirrors looking up. We just look inside here. We see BMW.
Rechts, geradeaus. Du kommst hier nicht mehr raus. Links, rechts, geradeaus.
You want to make sure
Du kommst hier nicht mehr raus.
it actually works before we get it.
Links, rechts, geradeaus. Links, rechts, geradeaus. Links, rechts, geradeaus. Links, rechts, geradeaus. Der Wahnsinn hat dich eingesperrt und deine heile Welt verzerrt. Hat sich in deinen Kopf gepflanzt. Lauf, Kind, lauf, so schnell du kannst. Du weißt nicht mehr, wer du bist. Du weißt nicht mehr, was Liebe ist.
Trying to do is push this little tab
Hat sich entstellt. Niemand ist hier, der zu dir hält. Klopf,
trying to
klopf,
fix
lass
this
mich
little
rein,
tab
lass
so
mich
we
dein
can go
Geheimnis
back.
sein. Klopf, klopf,
Push that tab on either side of that.
klopf, 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 lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, welche Türen die richtigen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, wer die Guten und die Bösen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Du hast mich oft aus dir verbannt, an meinem Zorn dein Herz verbrannt. Dein zweites Ich, die zweite Haut, hab ich in deinem Kopf verbaut. Wenn ich in deine Seele tauche und dich für meine Lust gebrauche, dann werd ich deine Sinne blenden. Das Spiel kannst nur du selbst beenden. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Klopf, 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 klopf. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, welche Türen die richtigen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, wer die Guten und die Bösen sind. Du bist im Labyrinth. Du bist im Labyrinth. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis. Klopf, 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 lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Klopf, klopf, lass mich rein, lass mich dein Geheimnis sein. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, welche Türen die richtigen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, wer die Guten und die Bösen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, welche Türen die richtigen sind. Mein verlorenes Kind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du bist im Labyrinth. Links, rechts, geradeaus, links, rechts, geradeaus. Keiner kann dir sagen, wer die Guten und die Bösen sind. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du kommst hier nicht mehr raus. Links, rechts, geradeaus, du kommst hier nicht mehr raus.
I'll have to unclip this. There we go. Now I'm going to same thing here. Just need to pick on the side here.
打了疫苗，让你产生了抗体。恭喜你得到永生。谁都想拥有最完美的情人，随时帮你捏捏肩。爱只是一个字而已，但人类迁就我完蛋。 到的该放在哪里？到底要的放在哪里？到底到的到的。人工智能终于完善了爱情，但别挑战它下棋。全世界的问题不需再担心，它将会致命或是
We're gonna get this out. We're gonna have to take our pick.
爱只是一个字而已，但人类千秋不完蛋，不明白一直到现在的 AI 能克服所有问题，但道德该放在哪里？到底道德放在哪里？到底道德道德。只是一个字而已，但人类千秋不完蛋，不明白一直到现在的 AI 能克服所有问题，但道德该放在哪里？到底道德放在哪里？到底道德放在哪里？到底
Looks like I just have 2 clips.
道德放在哪里？到底道德放在哪里？
Apparently, you just need to keep tugging on it pretty hard, and then it'll just pop right out.
I took a one step over the line, sold his soul to the dark, the holy sign. Now only time will tell. Will it take you down or will you pull through? It's like a voice from the burning fires of hell. So it's in now you're falling for the spell. And only time will tell. Will it take you down or will you pull through? It's calling out to you. You are my instigator. You are my activator. You are my space invader. Caution every warning I propose. You are my complicator. You are my instigator. You are my aggravator. Caution every warning I propose to you. So lay it down, have you lost yourself control to the one you believe could save your soul? Now only time will tell. Will it take you down or will you pull through? Like a voice in the darkness of the night, telling tales you become what you despise. And only time will tell. Will it take you down or will you pull through? You are my instigator. You are my activator. You are my space invader. Caution every warning I propose. You are my complicator. You are my instigator. You are my aggravator. Caution every warning I propose. I'm talking about the isolation, complication, aggravation, voices in my head. Something that you said, but something drove me to the act, but I just couldn't recollect if it was 10 or was it 20. Blows the voice and once again, but I said fundamental fact that no one knows who's where or what they're at any time of day. There's no one left to say, so who's to know?
I'm going to speed up this part of the video here. This did take probably about an hour and a half to cut out and get the molding piece fitted in here so it looked really good and that I was kind of happy with the quality there. Take your time, go slow, make small cuts, check and adjust, because once you've cut this, and if you've cut too much, there's not really any going back here. So I did take a little bit more time than I probably normally would do, but I think the result was pretty good here. A couple of pointers that might help you out is the back of the dash, the molding trim is actually more square than it is rounded, but you'll still want to stay at least 1/8 of an inch away from the very edge, just to make sure you get a really nice tight fit. On the front near the instrument cluster, I should have probably just flipped the dash upside down and followed the hard plastic pattern that they have. That would have been much easier and probably saved me a lot of time as well. But again, I would really encourage you to go slow, or I really wanted to go slow during this part just to make sure that I didn't cut off too much, because again, once you cut off too much, it's kind of done. Maybe you can, make it black with a Sharpie or something, but I didn't really want to do that. So the other thing I think that would be really helpful if I had to do this over again would be making sure that I get that bottom right hand corner more square and not so rounded, and I think the molding would have fit in there a lot better. But otherwise, I'm very happy with the result on this one, but it did take me probably about an hour and a half.
willst was sagen, aber keiner hört dir zu und du gibst auf und du gehst baden, Mann, wie ein zu nah am Fluss gebautes Haus. Halt die Schnauze, jeder, der mir sagt, es geht nach oben, hat gelogen, denn in Wahrheit ist mein Schlafplatz noch am Boden. Ich muss nicht nach Hollywood mit allen Stars Sekt saufen, ich muss mit dem Bus noch zu Aldi fahren und Essen kaufen. Nur weil ich rappe, kann ich Essen kaufen, auch wenn mein Geld längst nicht reicht, um mir endlich mal wegzulaufen. Ich schreibe Zeilen und ich park sie auf den Beat, während die Kleinen aus Verzweiflung auf der Straße stehen und dealen. Seht die Wahrheit, dass mein Partner in dem Lied Kids der Straße widerspiegelt und ein Partner ist für sie. Denk mal nach, was sie dir sagen, ist das echt oder der letzte Stoß? Ja Mann, ich laber Dreck, wenn ich den ganzen Tag Dreck fressen muss. Und ja, sie wollen weg und einen Schluss ziehen und dann aus. Doch wie's aussieht, man, verpassen sie den letzten Bus hier raus. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind doch eure Kinder. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie nie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind eure Kinder. Ich höre den ganzen Tag, ich wär für unsere Jugend so schlimm, weil ihr meint, dass meine Texte viel zu skrupellos sind. Wo sind die Kinder, wo sind sie, wenn die Schule beginnt? Du siehst sie draußen auf der Straße und sie suchen den Sinn. Es geht um Clown und um Dealerei, jeder will ein Spieler sein. Heute ist es Glasticken, morgen Autoschieberei. Okay, das gibt's in Dörfern nicht, doch ich lebe in Berlin, wo sich ein Junkie jede Scheiße in den Körper spritzt. Was kann ich dafür, dass so etwas passiert? Denkt ihr, ich hab durch Musik eure Kinder dazu animiert? Ich denke manchmal echt, dass es keiner begreifen mag. Ich hab eure Kinder so gemacht, das war leicht gesagt. Das Produkt meiner Umwelt, ihr habt mich erschaffen und jetzt guckt, wie euer Weltbild umfällt. Sagt, was die Scheiße soll, 5-mal einfach Gold. Super Shakusa, Bruder, mach jetzt die Österreicher stolz. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie nie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind eure Kinder. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind doch eure Kinder. Und wollt ihr uns jetzt sagen, da ist gar nichts wahr und alles fake? Bewegt dein Arsch hierher, ja, und dann wage es am Rad zu drehen. Wage es am Rad zu drehen. Klar, denn du bist cool und hart. Und nach einer Minute, Junge, wartet dein Besuch beim Arzt. Ich mach keinen Spaß, Rambazamba oder Science Fiction. Steht voller Verzweiflung. Bruder, Vater, beide sitzen. Und ist sein Vater zwar frei. Und das ist kein Witz, dann hat er keine Arbeit und am Nachmittag schreien sitzen. Sieh uns an, wir leuchten heller als ein Stern. Auch wenn deine Eltern sagen, von den Männern halt dich fern. Diese Männer ziehen durchs Land, machen Geld, als ob nichts wär. Und beim Rest aus diesem Land bleibt der Teller immer leer. Wir sind nicht schuld daran, dass Kinder nicht mehr reden und sich schlagen, weil sie sehen, wie ihre Stars sind und sie leben, was wir sagen. Und es ist nicht leicht, hoffnungsvoll zu beten und dann heilen. So eine Scheiße, Gott hat leider nicht für jeden von uns Zeit. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind doch eure Kinder. Es tut mir leid, wenn ihr meint, ich hab sie nie dazu gebracht, es sind eure Kinder und es reicht, es ist leicht, ich hab sie nie dazu gemacht, es sind eure Kinder.
Eine schmale Brücke. Die Ufer sind Vernunft und Trieb. Ich steig dir nach, das Sonnenlicht den Geist verwirrt. Ein blindes Kind, das vorwärts kriecht, weil es seine Mutter riecht. Ich finde dich. Die Spur ist frisch und auf die Brücke. Dann schweißt ein warmes Blut. Ich seh dich nicht, ich riech dich nur, ich spüre dich. Ein Raubtier, das vor Hunger schreit, bitter richtig meilenweit. Du riechst so gut, du riechst so gut, ich geh dir hinterher. Du riechst
I do that. Yeah, there's an induction plate on the right side.
Ich warte, bis es dunkel ist.
So we would want to
Dann fass ich an die nasse Haut. Verrat mich nicht, oh, siehst du nicht, die Brücke brennt. Hör auf zu schreien und werde nicht, weil sie sonst auseinanderbricht. Ich geh dir hinterher, du riechst so gut. Ich finde dich so gut. Ich steig dir nach, du riechst so gut. Gleich hab ich dich.
It's like the impact on us hitting it.
Ich geh dir hinterher, du riechst so gut. Ich finde dich so gut, ich fass dich an, du riechst so gut.